Wimbledon has been stripped of rankings points. G'day and welcome to this Australian Open Live, and it's the Spotlight Series, and today we're shining a spotlight on Wimbledon 2022. Wimbledon has been stripped of rankings points. Why did that happen? Well, we're not going to explain it here, but it's definitely impacted the tournament, and our series will be investigating how this came about. And then we're going to go through a different episode. We'll address, we're going to be looking at reviewing the situation, how it came about. We're not getting political or commentating or entering into any sort of speculation one way or the other. We hope this will be a topic of interest coming up over the next couple of weeks, and a few episodes there to whet your appetite for Wimbledon. And as we like to do, presenting some content with a difference, about the players behind the stats, the topics behind the stats, behind the scenes, and just aggregating all this information into one place that you can't get anywhere else. We tell stories, and our story is tennis. We want to introduce you to an upcoming series that's going to play throughout the lead up to Wimbledon and possibly after. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome to this Australian Open Life. We tell stories, and our story is tennis. And in this Spotlight Series, we're exploring the issues and player reactions, and some of the commentary that has been generated by this situation. So, episode 1, we're just going to review the situation, like what piqued our interest, and around about the middle of May, it was reported that Wimbledon was stripping the rankings points over its ban on Russian and Belarusian players, and it effectively reduced Wimbledon to an exhibition event, and the men's ATP tour said it saw no option but to act over the ban. And a really incredible situation to come about, because it was only recently at the Australian Open that players were clamouring to get into the country to compete under the COVID regulations, and all of a sudden they're saying they're not, some of them saying that they're not going to compete because there's no rankings points available, and that piqued our interest, not from a political point of view or a judgmental point of view, but simply because just being an unprecedented event that we thought was worth aggregating some of the content around to present to you, and the WTA tour soon followed suit, so we started collating some of these reference points, and just seeing the ongoing fallout. Well, the implications then flowed on to the WTA tour, and they also decided to withdraw the awarding of rankings points. And there's a big deal, because a win in a Grand Slam at Wimbledon is worth 2,000 points. And that's big. And then not just for the elite level players, but you think about all those players around the lower rankings, trying to build their points, defend their points to make sure that they can crack it into the top 100 and get automatic entry to the Grand Slams, and then that sets them up for the ATP tournaments and the Challenger tournaments happening around those slams. So this is all over, of course, the conflict in Ukraine, and we'll leave that commentary for people with better credentials than us, because that's not really our territory. The situation from Wimbledon's point of view was that they would decline entries from Russian and Belarusian players to the 2022 championship, and they were citing the high profile of the event and their responsibility in circumstances of which unjustified and unprecedented aggression was one of the reasons. And for the moment, we'll leave you with the sights, sounds, summer of Australia, the Australian Open 2022. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Now, effectively being reduced to an exhibition event, some commentary has come up, and indeed some of the players have echoed this, and will be presenting their thoughts on this very topic, that Wimbledon really is no exhibition event. That the prestige of it and the hunger and the demand for a full and complete tournament at Wimbledon will stand it in good stead. And in fact, Britain's Andy Murray won that men's ATP title at the All England Club in 2013 and 2016. And he simply put by Murray, Wimbledon's never going to be an exhibition and will never feel like an exhibition, with or without rankings points. And he said that he follows the golf very closely himself, does Andy Murray, and he has no idea how many rankings points the winner of the Masters gets. And likewise, that he states that him and his friends love football, and none of us know or care how many rankings points a team gets for winning the World Cup, but he can tell you exactly who won the World Cup and who won the Masters. So that's where things stand, and of course today that we're into day 2 as we're recording of Wimbledon, and we'll be exploring in future episodes as we go through Wimbledon who is participating and who isn't, based on whether or not Wimbledon points, ranking points are on offer at Wimbledon. We're not interested in the politics, and we'll just wind up the episode now, but reflecting on comments from the ATP chairman, Andrea Gaudenzi. He said that the decision to take away rankings points was, quote, very difficult. We understand it's not that they just woke up one morning and decided to ban players. And this bloke is a former top 20 singles player. He hopes that all governing bodies could sit down at the end of Wimbledon and decide on a united path for such situations in the future. They don't want this difficult position to be one in which they find themselves again. And so we'll wrap it up there. But before we finish off this episode, and stick around because we've got a little summary coming up after this that'll be at the end of each episode. but the sports columnist at The Age in Melbourne, Australia, Greg Baum, a well-credentialed, award-winning sports writer, and it was really his article that really kicked off this series. And although we are maintaining a apolitical line with our content, we're not interested in commentary or controversy with our content. We're merely telling stories about the people who play tennis at the elite level that we all love watching. But as Greg Baum wrote in The Age on May 23, 2022, is Wimbledon in banning Russian and Belarusian players, is it really a damaging precedent? We'll tell that to the people of Mariupol in Ukraine. And just a disclaimer again, this episode and all of this series that we're running is apolitical. We're not running commentary on the politics of what's going on in Ukraine, but you can't deny that sport and politics, as much as we like to think that they shouldn't and should never and have no right to cross over, the simple fact of it is that they do and they have, and we can run through any number of situations in the past. The boycott of the 1980 Olympics, I remember that very vividly when that happened. The current situation, the kerfuffle in Saudi Arabia with Greg Norman trumpeting the Saudi Arabian, the new tournament competing with the PGA Tour, which a lot of people are very upset about. You can look to the 2018 World Cup in Russia, the Winter Olympics in Sochi, and we even go back as far as the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. There's been plenty of times when sport has been the loser in these situations, and there's been plenty of times when sport has been used by those that really have no right to use sport. And in closing, what really comes to mind when it comes to human rights, it would do us all well to think of the Australian sprinter, the silver medalist from the '68 Mexico Olympics, Peter Norman, who simply stood in support of the two black athletes with their Black Power salute, and he got absolutely caned for his support of human rights and supporting fellow athletes. So if there's a line, he stood on it, and he paid the price. And the only thing we can say is that there's no easy answer, black or white, in this world, and at the moment we're in the middle of a whole lot of grey. And the objective of this series was merely to aggregate the commentary and the content going around and put it all into one place and offer it up for your enjoyment, for you to digest, and you be the judge. We're just the platform for putting it all in one place that you can't find anywhere else. And also look out for our other upcoming series coming up after Wimbledon, leading into the US Open. We're going to be looking at the topic of mental health and how professional tennis players down the rankings, how those players on the Challenger and ITF circuits deal with being players travelling around the world looking to rack up rankings points so they can forge their way into the Grand Slams and the challenges they deal with. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You're listening to This Australian Open Life. You can watch us on the internet all over the world from anywhere you are, and we've also got our podcast going, of course, hosted by Acast, but you can find us on Spotify, on all those channels. The names which just escape me, isn't that hopeless? But you can find us on wisewords.com.au. You can find the podcast and listen from the comfort of your lounge room, your laptop, your mobile, when you're on the train, when you're on the plane, anywhere in the world. This Australian Open Life will be pleased and happy to keep you company. Thanks for joining us in This Australian Open Life. You've been listening to me, the bloke who walks, sometimes known as the bloke who bangs on a bit. We're based in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please keep following. Please keep enjoying these episodes and enjoy the tennis. We hope you're having a great time keeping an eye on these elite international tennis players. So that about wraps it up. Hope you enjoyed that very rudimentary summary. I'm not going to pat myself on the back about the quality of this episode. It was really just about bringing together all those names of all those players and just letting you know that that's where things are at. Because we live in a digital age, but it's actually sometimes not that easy to find all this information. And the Christmas, New Year's break, I mean, who wants to spend all their time looking at endless streams of apps and websites and so let us do all the hard work for you. That's what we're here for. And it's so very much appreciated that we're finding out that from most of the viewers, whether it's by comments or likes or subscriptions, that this Australian Open Life is hitting the mark for you. You've been listening to Bloke Who Walks. This was our Wildcards episode of the Spotlight series. Have a great new year. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat to you very soon. Bye for now. Based in Melbourne, Australia, This Australian Open Life is produced by Wise Words Media and Calumny Films.